If you're running on EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, and searching for the difference between a visionary and an integrator, the question itself usually signals something specific, not confusion about the concepts. Most visionaries understand the model well enough. What they are really asking is why the dynamic between these two roles is not producing what the model promises it should. The integrator seat feels like it should be working. The person is capable, the tools are running, but the visionary is still the bottleneck, still getting pulled into decisions that should be resolved below them, still carrying operational weight that was supposed to move into someone else's seat. That gap between what the model describes and what the business actually feels like is what this video is about. Here is the direct answer. The visionary, CEO, is the entrepreneurial leader who generates ideas, builds relationships, and sets the direction of the business. The integrator is the second in command who takes that direction and turns it into executable reality. The visionary makes it up. The integrator makes it real. That is the foundation of how the two roles relate, and everything else in this video builds on it. I am Derek Fredrickson, founder of the COO Solution. Now, the most useful way to understand these two roles is not in isolation, but in contrast to each other, because they are designed to be complementary rather than hierarchical. The visionary generates more ideas than the organization can ever execute at once. And the integrator takes those ideas and decides what gets resourced now, what goes on the future list, and what gets respectfully set aside. The visionary is energized by new opportunities and the long-term view. The integrator is energized by getting things across the finish line and creating order from complexity. The visionary asks, what could we do? And the integrator asks, what are we actually doing? By when? And who owns it? Neither is superior, meaning one is not better than the other. Both are equally as important and essential. And the business only reaches its potential when both are genuinely inhabited by people who are wired for those specific functions, not assigned to them because someone needed a title on the org chart. The visionary's greatest asset, the ability to see possibilities others cannot, becomes an operational liability without someone to channel and execute those possibilities. And the integrator is the structural answer to that liability. They are the person who makes the visionary's vision survivable for the organization. Now, concepts become useful when you can see them in a specific week inside a real business. So when the visionary and integrator dynamic is working correctly, the visionary's Monday looks like a level 10 meeting they attend rather than having to manage. The integrator runs the meeting, works the issue solving track, and produces a resolution rather than a list of topics to revisit later. And then say by Wednesday, the visionary has not been copied on a single operational email that did not require their judgment. The leadership team is moving forward on their rocks without routing questions upward back to the CEO. And by Friday, the visionary has spent the week on strategy, relationships, and the decisions that generally require their input rather than on the decisions that felt urgent because no one else felt empowered to make. That shift does not happen because the visionary worked less, right? The opposite. It happens because the right person is in the operational seat carrying the weight that was never supposed to be the visionaries in the first place. I'll give you an example with one of our clients, Adam Wolf, president of Wolf Retirement Navigation, who has been on our COO Solution podcast recently, described what this felt like from the inside. And before the right person was in place as his second in command COO, he was carrying everything. The team was waiting on him constantly. And as he described it, the weight was starting to break him down. And once Stephanie, who was the COO working with Adam, stepped in through our model at the COO Solution, that changed fundamentally. Fewer questions throughout the day, fewer emails from the team, and the brain power for Adam freed up. Not just the time, but the ability to think. That is the shift the proper visionary integrator dynamic is designed to produce. Now, 3 failure modes cause this dynamic to break down, even in businesses that are successfully running EOS. And by naming them directly here, that matters most because after the fact, a failed integrator placement can focus on the wrong variable. The first is the wrong person in the seat. Loyalty and tenure feel like reliable criteria when you are properly evaluating internally within your team. They are not the same as integrator wiring. Proper integrator wiring. Person who is deeply committed to the business and has been there from the beginning may not be built to lead the leadership team, filter the visionaries' ideas, and hold organizational accountability all at the same time. Promoting them internally into the seat because they deserve it creates a person who carries the title but without the function, and leaves the visionary still absorbing the weight of the seat that it was supposed to bear. The second is mismatched chemistry. The visionary integrator relationship is one of the most consequential working relationships and partnerships in any EOS business. When the two people are not complementary in their wiring, when they compete for direction rather than complement one another, when trust is slow to develop or never really quite arrives, the model does not produce what it promises, regardless of how well either person knows the EOS tools. And the third is a visionary who has not genuinely transferred ownership of the operational seat to the integrator. This is the failure mode that gets discussed least and causes the most damage. A visionary who continues to make operational decisions, stays involved in conversations the integrator should be resolving, or subtly undermines the integrator's authority with the team, will limit how well that person can perform, regardless of their capability. The model requires both roles to be genuinely and fully inhabited. Partially inhabited does not produce the result. Now, most visionaries evaluate integrator candidates on operational credentials and EOS experience, and that matters. They both do. But the variable that most consistently determines whether the dynamic produces long-term sustainable results is complementary wiring between the two people. The integrator needs to be built for the second in command seat in a very particular way, generally energized by executing someone else's vision rather than generating their own. Someone who finds deep satisfaction in making ideas real rather than originating them. And someone who is not diminished by being the operational partner rather than the front-facing leader. That wiring is not universal. It is specific, and a strong operator who is not wired this way will create friction in the visionary integrator relationship, regardless of how qualified they are on paper. Now, the visionary side of this equation matters just as much. A visionary who is ready to generally hand over the operational seat, not perform the handover while remaining the de facto decision maker, is the other half of what makes this really work. The dynamic is a relationship. Both people have to be fully in it. Now, at the COO Solution, we do not separate the evaluation of operational capability from the evaluation of visionary fit. Both have to be right before any placement begins. And our fractional COOs bring EOS fluency built through the integrator masterclass, genuine second seat wiring, and a matching process that evaluates communication style and visionary chemistry alongside their EOS and COO credentials. In practice, that produces what Adam Wolf described: a business where the questions stop routing to the top, where the brain power frees up, not just time, and where the visionary finally gets to operate at the level the model always promised they could. Now, before we close, the observation worth making directly: most visionaries who are struggling with the integrator seat have spent years trying to solve the problem by developing their own operational skills rather than finding the right person to inhabit the other role. They try to build systems, they take EOS courses, they try to become better at the things the integrator is supposed to own. That effort is not wasted, but it is misdirected, and the model is not designed to help the visionary become more operational. It is designed for the visionary to find someone who is genuinely built for the operational seat and let them take it fully while the visionary stays in their seat. The moment that shift happens, when both roles are generally and fully inhabited by the right people, the business starts to move at the pace that the visionary has always believed it could, but never quite achieved alone. Listen, the visionary makes it up. The integrator makes it real, and both have to be present for either to work. If the integrator seat in your EOS business is empty or not delivering what the model promises, the right starting point is understanding whether the gap is in the right person or the wiring or the visionary's readiness to hand over the seat fully. Our fractional COO quiz helps identify what kind of operational support your business actually needs right now. And a discovery call lets us go deeper into your specific business situation and what the right match looks like for your visionary style and growth stage. Listen, you bring the vision. We bring the operations that make it real. I'm Fredrickson, and this is the COO Solution.